Good evening. Welcome to FL News. My name is Frida Núñez.
And my name is Ewha. Today we brought you a new section about different countries of the world. Today's topic will be the Republic of Korea.
We brought two experts to talk about the topic. Let's get into it.
Let's go. Welcome to this new section called Let's Zoom In, Zoom Out. We are your hosts, Ewha and Frida Núñez. With this section, we'll be learning a lot about the countries of the world, but today's topic will be the Republic of Korea. Let's get into it. The first topic that we're going to introduce South Korea as is an industrialized country. After the end of the Korean War and the instauration of a democracy, South Korea concentrated on improving its economical development, starting a new beginning in which Syngman Rhee established the basis of political culture and began the economical expansion, mostly with the financial aid provided by the United States. On the other hand, Park Chung-hee's regime implemented a financial system under the control of the state that let him apply several neoliberal policies. In one of them, they feed industries selected by the government, and this helped to the quick economical development. Those organizations will grow in which today's are Hyundai, Samsung, LG, Kia, all leading companies in technology and industrialization. Aside from the article, we could perceive this process in Hyunja's heydays and Ode to My Father. In both movies, the protagonists are trying to survive in the environment of industrialization and the process of how Korea became industrialized.
Now we're going to talk about the Korean cultural aspects of the Korean society. First, we have the term Hanminjeok, which means Korean nation. It is a constructed national consciousness that remains. It's an essential basis for modern Korean nationalism, and it is part of the characterizing idea of Korea as a unified country. In addition, the Korean society has the belief of coming from the same ancestor, sharing the same bloodline, creating a sense of community. The Joseon dynasty, which was in power between the 14th until the 19th century, had a big influence of Confucianism, emphasizing inhumanity, ethical morality, spiritual self-cultivation, and valued the spiritual over the material life, and other values that were considered important, such as virtue, harmony, faithfulness, righteousness, and loyalty. In the picture, we can see the key household of Cheonju, that was the last royal family of the Joseon dynasty, before the Japanese colonialism. We also have two key terms, that is Han, that it is an accumulated feeling that is usually linked to nostalgia. We also have Chung, which is a feeling of affectedness or connection that is built through time.
In addition to that, nowadays Korea is a country in which tradition and modernity coexist. Throughout the media, several traditions are shown in films, like Ode to My Father, where we can see Chuseok, which is one of the most important festive holidays of Korea. It originated in the year 300 and its origins during the harvesting time. The families used to gather together, spend time together, and give thanks to their ancestors for the plentiful harvest. And women used to prepare an ancestral memorial ceremony called Cheria by filling a table with food. Nowadays, people go back to their hometowns to gather with their family to honor their ancestor with memorial services, and they prepare the traditional rice cake called sopyeon. In this picture, we can see that in the movie Ode to My Father, they fill the table with food and also they bow to their ancestor from the youngest to the oldest.
Now we're going to talk about one of the most important cultural aspects of the Korean music, the pansori. The pansori goes back to the 17th century. It is performed by one drummer and one singer. Most of these shows were performed by men. This practice was considered as a very low art, performed by a low class and uneducated people, and the performances took place at the streets. It was passed orally, so for some historians it is hard to keep track of this practice. And until the 19th century, women started to sing. They used to perform it in a closed and private space. The pansori used to sing about the sadness and the grief of daily life. We can see this portrayed in the film Sapiens, where we are introduced to Pansori, and also we can see that the father puts her daughter to a number of situations so she can interpret better the hand of the songs. The Korean identity in films and drama. The film, drama, and K-pop industry is one of the biggest soft power strategies for which South Korea is known. The success of these industries didn't appear out of nowhere. After the Korean War until this day, a series of cultural policies have been put in place to reinforce the national cultural identity inside and outside of Korea. During the Korean War, there was a big Western influence in music, such as rock music that played in the American bars. We can see this portrayed in the movies Go Go 70s, and an influence in the film industry since the American movies from the 30s and the 40s were projected in Korea. We can see the modernization and westernization of Korea in the movie Madame Freedom. The first governments to implement cultural policy, such as Park Chung-hee and Chun Do-hwan, implemented institutions, organizations, and policies related to the cultural sector that allow the promotion and manifestation of Korean culture, such as folks and art, but they were delimited by censorship. On the other hand, we have the government of Roh Tae-woo, Kim Jong-sam, and Kim Dae-jung that had more open and elaborated policies that looked for the promotion of Korean culture in the exterior. Actually, Kim Dae-jung banned the law that prohibited the manifestation of Japanese culture in South Korea. The first Korean wave, or Hallyu, started with the popularization of K-dramas that used attractive young cast and catchy pop songs, such as Jealousy of 1992. Also, in the mid-1990s, the exploitation of drama increased. Actually, the drama Jealousy was the first drama to be exported to China. And thanks to globalization and streaming platforms such as Drama Fever, Netflix, Viki, and Amazon Prime, the popularization of K-dramas had a huge incrementation.
Also, the character of the Korean wave changed with the Hallyu 2.0 movement. The Hallyu 2.0 movement was a name given by the scholar. This movement put as #1 exported cultural product the Korean pop music. Nowadays, as a consequence of that, we can see idol training programs and the inclusion of idols in acting roles to draw back the younger audience. Also, we can see some strategies of policies like the cultural nationalism and pride allocated to entertaining products, such as K-pop or K-dramas that emphasize cultural aspects, or how the government saw this K-pop star as a way to improve or to promote South Korea's name.
Now let's talk about the Korean identity in K-pop and K-dramas. We have the historical dramas such as Kingdom that represent cultural and historical elements. Also, we have K-pop music videos such as Lead from Wanos that represent these elements in their clouds and the background. Also, K-popers have achieved such popularity to the point of representing Korea at the United Nations as presidential envoys just like BTS.
As a conclusion, we can also see or perceive South Korea as a country with purpose. Through its media and movies, we can learn about its lifestyle, historical context, and also it's interesting how this media has its own meaning. They can be critical about the flaw of society or contribute to certain topic or strategies. For example, movies like Parasite, in which they criticize the neoliberal system, The Vacuous Lady, in which they criticize the treatment that older people had, or Petals, in which they introduce the experience of the victims of the Guangzhou massacre.
Thank you for such delightful information. Now we know more about South Korea.
Yes, we expect you next week with a new program.
Have a good night.